Hello everyone, I'm Gary Elwood with ProQuest Technologies. Welcome to today's webinar presentation. Hope all of you out there can hear me okay. I'm going to go ahead and click off this video feed because I don't want my face to be a distraction to the presentation. Occasionally I'm going to pop in and out when we conduct a poll through the webinar here, but at this point I'm going to go ahead and shut the video feed off. Okay. So what is mobile voice routing, and why is it such an incredible leap forward? Well, what it is, it's a voice-activated mobile technology that is accessible from 100% of all phones, that is producing an 80 to 90% response rate and delivering live conversations with qualified prospects at a higher rate than ever before. To illustrate why this is such an incredible strategic and technological breakthrough, let me ask you, who would you rather talk to? Someone who's just paid $75 to $100 to fill up their SUV's gas tank, who's out driving around, spending time away from their family, and they're sitting out in front of your listing, visualizing their kids playing on the swing set out back because they're in love with the neighborhood? Or the guy who's combing through the MLS relentlessly? He's getting emails from 5 or 6 different agents. Which one of those two would you rather talk to? The answer's fairly obvious, isn't it? Well, with mobile voice routing, I'm going to give you the most efficient and effective strategy and technology for having a live conversation with that first prospect 80 to 90% of the time when they drive by your listing, look at your ad, or visit your website. For example, I was talking with a client of ours recently, Scott Pewitt with Windermere NorCal Properties in Redding, California. Now, this is a fairly large team with 50 to 60 listings, but he said they've gone from 1 to 2 sign calls a day to, with our new mobile voice routing system, between 13 and 16 live sign writer or flyer calls each and every day. That's a 700 to 800% increase in drive-by lead calls. And then we got an email from Marty Newsom this past Sunday. She just said, wanted to tell us in an email, just wanted you to know this system is downright smoking hot. My phone hasn't stopped ringing. This is just off of our brochures. I am loving this. Thank you so much for helping me get this set up this weekend. Cheers, Marty. So does this thing produce more live inbound lead calls than anything else out there? The answer is absolutely it does. And with mobile voice routing, you're virtually guaranteed to be one step ahead of your competition 80 to 90% of the time for that all-important first conversation. And always remember, 74% of all real estate transactions are completed with the very first agent that a prospect talks to. Now, for all you agents out there who are more on the listing side of the business, you need to understand that approximately 1 out of 5 of these drive-by prospects is living in a home that they need to sell first. Plus, we're in the process of developing 3 brand new listing strategies for building your listing pipeline that in testing right now are already lighting things up. But first, let's talk about mobile voice routing and why it's such an incredible leap forward. See, the reason it's such an incredible leap forward is that all the lead capture or lead generation models that are currently available in real estate are broken or deteriorating. Virtually every kind of, quote, lead generation is slowly dying. And it's not because the leads aren't getting captured. It's because people are aggressively screening their calls with caller ID and not picking up the phone these days. And if you don't have a conversation, do you really have anything? Without a conversation, are you ever going to get to a closed real estate transaction? No. If you don't have a conversation, essentially you've got nothing. See, again, the issue isn't capturing leads. It's getting people to talk with you. And none of our call capture or internet lead capture competitors really want to talk about this because they don't have a solution. We do. The answer is driving that conversation to the front of the line, and that's exactly what we've done with mobile voice routing. Now, before we get into how this works, I want to talk a little bit about mobile. Mobile technology is literally taking over the world. Mobile is the future, and the future is today. The mobile stats in the United States are staggering. There are over 303 million mobile phone subscribers versus 245 million internet users. Mobile is now larger than the internet. It's more than twice the size of Facebook in the U.S. alone. Worldwide, mobile is 5 times larger than all the social media combined. SMS texting, it's even bigger. Estimates are as high as 2.5 trillion texts are sent and received every single day, more than all the postal mail in the entire world for an entire year, every single day. Tablet PCs are selling faster than any technology in history. So mobile is the single largest marketing path to real estate buyers and sellers in existence today. Mobile is taking over the world. Like my kids would say, I know, right? Well, now it's time for the real truth about mobile marketing in real estate. Yes, the numbers flying around about mobile are impressive, but let's zero in and talk about real estate lead generation. Now, before I break down all the mobile numbers as they relate to real estate lead generation, understand that our new mobile suite of services has texting lead generation, QR codes to mobile web pages. You can initiate a download of a mobile app through our service. It has all the mobile marketing paths represented. So if you want to text lead generate, you can text your heart's delight with our new suite of mobile services. But what I'm going to present to you now are the real-world results of our testing, and I'm just simply going to let the results speak for themselves. What we did is we took 317 listings for a 90-day period in the tech-heavy areas of the country, cities like Seattle, Silicon Valley, Austin, Denver, Southern California, all those tech-heavy areas that you would expect a higher adoption of technology. More texting, more mobile app activity, and actually we found that to be true in those markets relative to the other markets across the country. But here's what we found, and pay particularly close attention to these numbers. In fact, you may want to get a pen and paper out and write these things down because these are startling numbers. What we found is that with those listings with recorded information on the bottom of the signs and texting information on the top of the signs, see, we even tried to skew it in favor of texting. We put texting on the top of the sign, recorded info on the bottom of the sign. We put texting in a prominent position on the flyers. We put recorded information in a secondary position. And even in that scenario, recorded information produced 7,528 inbound leads, or 7.92 leads per listing per month. Texting lead generation, it produced 647 leads, or 0.71 leads per listing per month. QR codes to mobile web pages, it produced 43 scans and 0 leads. So even in that scenario with recorded information as a secondary position, it outproduced texting lead generation by more than 11.2 to 1. Now, when I tell agents that on virtually every occasion, I get the response, wow, really? It is. It's an understandable response, too, because the mobile numbers are absolutely staggering. 2.5 trillion text messages sent and received every day. But the one thing you have to do as a real estate agent is ask yourself 2 critical questions. These 2 critical questions are questions that our other mobile providers out there simply do not want to debate in public, because if they did, they would not be able to sell their services. And the reason you need to ask these questions is you need to know what works and what doesn't. You need to ask who is my customer, and how do they use these mobile devices? See, because if you step back from the texting numbers, these huge texting numbers, and we all know that everyone texts. I mean, you see little old ladies at the grocery store texting now. Everyone texts. But you have to ask, who are my customers, and how do they use these devices? If you pull up the Nielsen mobile data, the Mobile Marketing Association, Pew Research, Forrester Research, and you compile the numbers, you'll find that 72% of all texting is age 24 and under. That represents 1% of sellers nationally and 4% of buyers nationally. So what you're doing is you're taking nearly 3/4 of this traffic and aiming it at the teeny tiny target instead of the big obvious target that's in front of all of us. And then the second question you have to ask is, how do my customers use these mobile tools? Is texting used as a research tool? No. It's great for things like pick up a gallon of milk on the way home from work, honey. Or as an agent, it's an absolutely awesome tool for things like, I've got 2 great properties to show you. See you at the office at 5. Saves you a 20-minute conversation about the kid's soccer game. I mean, it's a phenomenal tool for that, but do we use it for research? No. Our numbers prove it every single day that it simply isn't a great lead generation source. In fact, I was just talking with an agent from John L. Scott last week. John L. Scott's a large real estate brokerage in the Pacific Northwest. And they had just implemented a texting service with 383 of their listings. And in the last 30 days, they had generated 276 leads. Now, if you divide that out, it's 0.72 leads per listing per month. Almost the exact same numbers that we had gotten in Seattle. And then I talked to another agent just recently named Jennifer out on the East Coast, whose company implemented a texting service on over 500 of their listings at the first of this year. And when she called the marketing department and asked for stats on the texting lead generation, they told her it had generated 115 inquiries in the last 30 days. That's about 0.2 leads per listing per month. Even worse than the numbers that we had gotten. Now, what about mobile apps? The smartphone phenomenon is absolutely crazy, right? Everyone seems to have an iPhone or a Droid or something like that. Well, mobile apps, the numbers are even worse. Now, mobile apps are great on the servicing side of the business. If you find out a prospect after having had a good conversation with him, you find out they have an iPhone or a Droid, you say, hey, great, let me text you a link to my mobile app that you can download and search for properties through it. Then you've got something. You've already had a conversation and you're servicing them on the backside. Mobile apps are absolutely astounding. The craze is off the charts. In fact, more mobile app usage is occurring on a daily basis, 81 minutes a day versus 74 minutes a day for internet usage. So mobile app usage has already surpassed the internet for time usage on a daily basis by consumers. But again, what you need to ask is, who are my customers and how are they using these mobile devices? With mobile app usage, if you take those numbers and break them down, 49% of mobile app usage is for gaming. Things like Angry Birds. 40% of mobile app usage is social media, which is a whole other subject altogether. But suffice to say, anyone I've met that says they've got this great social media system that's producing huge numbers, well, there always seems to be some sort of program that they're selling behind it. But anyway, back to mobile apps. There's only one mobile app category that's relevant to you as a real estate agent. It's the search category. Of all mobile app usage, only 6% is represented by the search category. So search, which is the only relevant category for you as a real estate agent, if you take that and lay it over the 40% of the phones that are smartphones, now 6% of 40% is a 2.4% group that you're aiming at. Now let's take a look at that 2.4% group. How many of them are actually part of the active market? Maybe 5%? Now if you take 5% of 2.4%, now you're actually aiming at a 0.12% segment of the total phone market in the U.S. Now are you getting the picture? See, virtually everything you've been taught about mobile marketing and real estate lead generation is myth, calculated distortions, or outright lies designed to do one thing and one thing only, to sell you technology, not results. So what do I mean? Well, there are a lot of things the other, quote, mobile providers in real estate lead generation really don't want to debate publicly. The big question is, again, who is my customer and how do they actually use these mobile devices? If they honestly answered those two questions, they would be out of business because they could no longer sell you their mobile technology widget. At ProQuest Technologies, we are now and forever will be all about helping you create results, helping you close more real estate transactions, not selling you technology. Yes, we have an amazing new suite of mobile technologies, text lead generation, QR codes to mobile web pages. You can initiate a mobile app download from our system. And we've also got our 15-year-old standby recorded info, which, by the way, is 100% mobile. But honestly, when it comes to our business relationship with you, I could care less about technology. Yes, I love technology. I'm like a kid on Christmas morning when it comes to technology. But what I am forever committed to providing you with are tools and systems that will help you create more real estate transactions. That's the bottom line. If technology is the path, great. But I can honestly tell you that if I found the most incredible door-knocking strategy that would add $200,000 a year to your income, I would be teaching you that. This point about technology is everyone else pounding their drum about mobile technology is selling one thing and one thing only, technology. So if these mobile tools are all such poor lead generators, why did we add them to our new mobile suite of services? Well, quite frankly, if we didn't have them, agents wouldn't believe us concerning mobile. The mobile numbers are staggering, and the misrepresentations of those numbers out there for agents to sell technology are very persuasive. But one thing we did also consider in this is these technology tools do have some value for you in a listing presentation. They add a nice bit of technology wow factor for when you're in the home doing a listing presentation. Beyond that, they're of little value in real estate lead generation. Now let's talk about something truly exciting, something that's truly revolutionary, that will instantly have your phone ringing with 4 to 5 times as many good qualified prospects wanting to talk with you. It's called mobile voice routing. What it is, it's a voice-activated technology that uses what's called ASR, or automatic speech recognition. We've layered this into our system at the end of our recorded information messages. The way it works, again, remember, recorded information produces 7.92 leads per listing per month on an inbound basis. So what we've done is at the end of the recorded messages, instead of it being press 0 to speak with the representative or press 2 to leave a voicemail, something of that nature, we end the recording very abruptly and a prompt comes on that says, would you like current pricing for this property? If so, say yes. Well, what happens is 80 to 90% of the time the prospect says yes. And that call is connected directly to you and your cell phone for a live conversation at that moment that the prospect is leaning into you. Now contrast that with any lead capture mechanism, be it call capture, internet lead capture. You capture a lead, you follow up later. If you follow up 30 minutes later, you're lucky to get people to pick up the phone. The other thing is you wind up interrupting people in the middle of life, in the middle of their dinner with their family, or when they're heading out the door to take their kids to the soccer game. But with mobile voice routing, this say yes and get connected directly immediately, we're creating 4 to 5 times as many live conversations at that instant. But what's even more important is that these are better quality conversations. They're a higher level of conversation right at that moment that the prospect's leaning into you. Now the big key then becomes, what do you say and how do you say it to that prospect to engage them and open up a dialogue that begins the process of leading them down the path to creating a client relationship with you that ultimately concludes in a closed real estate transaction. That's the most critical, pivotal point in the entire process. I'm going to give you a very simple, straightforward example of how our agent handled that call at that instant. When the call comes in, first off, you know that that call's coming because we text message you prior to the call that someone's on the line listening to the recorded info. They've entered the 4-digit code, and then there's also a description field in which you put the street address and the property price on it so that you're prepared and ready for that call when it comes in. Now when the call comes in, you'll see that it's coming from your toll-free number with us, so you'll know that they just said yes for pricing information. And the way you handle that call, again, it's very simple, very straightforward. You simply pick up the phone. Hi, this is Gary with ABC Realty. Which property would you like me to price for you today? And the prospect goes, oh, okay. They were sitting there thinking that the system was going to get them pricing. There's about a second and a half of surprise that occurs when you answer the phone this way. And they go, oh. And again, but then they very quickly transition to, oh, okay, you're my pricing information. They get it. It very quickly turns that corner, and they go, oh, okay, we were just listening to the recorded information about 123 Elm Street, and we were wondering what it was priced at. And you come back with, oh, okay, great. Well, while I look that up for you, it'll take me just a moment to look that information up for you. Would it be okay if I told you a little bit more about the home? Because in that little 30 to 45 second recording, we really couldn't tell you all that much about the property, and it's such a charming home. Would that be okay? Prospect, 99% of the time they say, yeah, sure, no problem. They're sitting there thinking, well, sure, tell me whatever you want while you get me the pricing. Because what you're doing, of course, you're using that price to gently lead them forward into you. But at that point, that's where you start telling them a little bit more about the property, and then you need to elicit some key information. You say, oh, this home has this great workshop out back, and it's on 2/3 of an acre. And, oh, by the way, what price range are you folks shopping in anyway? And get them to respond to you and give you pricing information. If they're resistant to it, you say, well, if you had to guess, what price range would you be shopping in? Again, narrow it down, because what you tend to find is that lead calls of any kind, be they sign calls or any avenue, tend to be a pricing range just below that one you're advertising or they're calling from the signage on. They're sitting there wondering, gee, I wonder if I can afford that one. So what you do is you find out their pricing range. For example, they say, well, we're looking for somewhere upwards of between $225 and $250. Okay, and as you're looking at your listings, let's say it's listed at $289, which is out of their price range. This is a critical and important point, because if you don't get the price range and you give them the price, that call very quickly truncates and they go away. Because, can't afford it, buy. Okay, so when you get the pricing range, it gives you an option to move and progress with the conversation. So you get the price range. Okay, you're shopping in the $225 to $250 range. Okay. This home, it's also located in the Wolf School District, and you tell them a little bit more. And yes, and it's listed at $289.9, which is just a little bit above the price range you folks had mentioned that you're shopping in. But as luck would have it, I've got 3 other listings in the very same area that are right within your folks' price range. Would you like me to send you some information on that, on those properties? I could easily email those over to you. And at that point, you transition and you start to talk about them. Okay? Now, that leads into a whole different area of skills and techniques for how to take that call and lead them down the path to a closed transaction. But one thing that's really important to understand here is that the top of this lead generation funnel is still recorded information. The other mobile marketing paths, as cool and cutting edge as they are, they don't produce inbound lead calls for real estate. Okay, again, they might be great for, like I said, 2-for-1 hamburgers to the under 24 crowd. But as far as real estate lead generation is concerned, recorded info is the top of that lead generation funnel. Now, one thing I do know, we have a lot of clients and non-clients on the call today, or on this webinar today, and I'd like to take a quick poll of everyone who's on the call and who actually is using our service about how many leads are you generating at present with your service with us. Or if you're using a different call capture service, how many leads per month are you generating? So I'm gonna click this poll and bring it up here, and it is again, how many leads per month are you generating per listing? It'll take just a moment to kind of mentally calculate that. So I'm going to leave this poll open for about 15 seconds here and let you answer. The response options are 7 or more leads per listing per month, 3 to 6 leads per listing per month, or very few, if any, leads, or you've stopped using the service. Because quite frankly, we do have a few agents who've stopped using the service because they thought it was old news for some reason, but it's still producing leads. Okay, there's 15 seconds. I'm going to close this out. Now I'm going to go ahead and post the results of that. Okay, and it looks like 7 or more leads per month. 21% of the people on this, or agents on this call, are producing 7 or more leads per listing per month. Okay, 26% of you are generating between 3 and 6 leads per listing per month, and 53%, more than half the people on this call, are producing very few, if any, leads, or they've stopped using the system. Okay. Which I understand the hype around mobile would have you moving in different directions potentially. Well, now what I want to do is for the 21%, who are doing a really good job, which is, that's the area I would think everyone wants to be in, producing 7 or more leads per listing per month. I want to poll just those folks in that 21% group that are producing 7 or more leads per month. And I want to ask you, what are your main lead sources that are producing those leads for you? Now, okay, I'm launching the poll now. It's at sign writers only, sign writers and info flyers from flyer boxes, and or the third response is sign writers, info flyers, and other online sources like Craigslist, other free online ad sources, and things of that nature. So select one of those 3. I'm going to leave that poll open for another 10 seconds. Again, because I want you to really consider which ones you're using. Okay. I'm going to close the poll, and I'm going to post the results right now. Okay. So for those of you who are producing 7 or more leads per month, sign writers only, 3% of you are using sign writers only. Okay, so sign writers and info flyers, 54% are using both of those in tandem. And then 43% of you are using sign writers, info flyers, and other online ad sources. Now the reason, and that confirms exactly what I already had thought, and one of the reasons I wanted to point that out to everyone else on the call who may or may not be producing as many leads as you are, is the top 3 sources right now in today's market are sign writers on signs, flyers and flyer boxes, and free postings on online ad sources like Craigslist, Kijiji, and other sources of that type. And the reason I mention that is because oftentimes agents wonder if they're using, when they put it on the sign writers, they wonder if, why would I need to do flyers and flyer boxes? Isn't that kind of repetitive or redundant? Well, no. Absolutely not. In fact, it's crucial that you use the flyers and the flyer boxes exactly the way we show you how to format them. That's absolutely critical to this process. The formatting will make or break the results you get out of it. And there's a reason you want to run the 2 in tandem. In fact, if you don't use flyers and flyer boxes, you're actually cutting off about 2/3 of your curbside activity. 2/3 of the call volume that comes from drive-by traffic comes from brochures and brochure boxes formatted the way we show you how to do it. And the reason is that it comes down to how people process information. Some people are more auditory, some people are more visual. The auditory person will sit in their car and they'll call off of the sign writer and they'll sit there and listen because they want to hear all the details. Now, the more visual person, they'll get out of a car in a driving rainstorm to get that flyer because they have to see something. And they've got to see those pictures. And the visual stimulation of those pictures will then guide them up to the top of the flyer, which says, for free recorded information and current up-to-date pricing on this property, call our 24-hour recorded info line. And that's how you draw the visual person into calling for current up-to-date pricing and getting them to the recording, and at the end getting them to say yes so that it direct connects to you. Now, if you're firing on all cylinders, on average, our clients are averaging anywhere from 8 to 12 leads per listing per month with this approach. And with our new mobile voice routing technology layered into this, 80 to 90% of those calls are getting routed straight through to their cell phone for a live conversation at that point that the prospect is sitting in front of the home, looking at the ad, or visiting that agent's website. Now, with all of those leads coming through the pipeline, it leads me to our next part of our service, which frankly I think is every bit as important as the technology side of this. Because one of the things about being in call capture for 15 years is I found the greatest single challenge that most agents faced with our service was not generating leads. It was converting those leads into closed business. That was the single biggest challenge over the 15 years of doing this that I saw with literally thousands of agents using our call capture service. We would capture plenty of leads on a very consistent basis for them, but they were not taking those leads and turning them into face-to-face meetings that turned into a client relationship that led to a closed transaction. And the most common thing I've heard from agents over the years is, I'm getting some business off of this, but I've always felt like I could get so much more from it. And it's absolutely true. They could if their skills and the techniques that they use for handling these calls was developed at a higher level. There are 15 to 20 different directions that a call can go when that prospect, when you answer the phone with that prospect. And those skills and techniques are layered in over time. It's not something you instantly grasp. Yes, the opening is very smooth and it's very easy to get to that point of initial feeling good about the conversation. But what happens so often is that the call gets hung up on, everybody's feeling good about it, the agent emails some information, and poof, the lead goes away. Well, what we've done to shore up that side of it is we've developed an ongoing coaching and training element of this to help agents develop the critical skills that they need to take these leads and turn them into closed transactions. And the gentleman I have heading this up, in 15 years of working with call capture, is the single most effective agent I've ever met with call capture leads. It's a gentleman by the name of John Gualtieri, who ran a team of 3 buyer's agents, and he and his 3 buyer's agents consistently closed between $600,000 and $800,000 a year in gross commissions for 6 consecutive years that came straight from call capture leads. He was actually doing upwards of $1.5 million a year for those 6 consecutive years, but half of it was from repeat and referral business. John had a very stable and successful real estate practice, but half of his business came from call capture leads, and what's the most impressive part about that is his marketing budget was $500 a month. He was producing that kind of volume on $500 a month. Now, what that speaks to is that John and his team were absolutely razor sharp at taking these leads and converting them into a face-to-face meeting that turned into a client relationship that ultimately closed a transaction with them. And the skills and ability that John possesses are really that set of skills that every agent needs to develop to be able to take this system and take these leads and close a maximum amount of business out of it. And John, we're very, very fortunate to be partnered up with John on this coaching and training side of it, because after a 6-year run in his real estate practice and building out that successful team, one of the things he found was that his true passion was in coaching and training. So he sold his real estate practice and he's gone into coaching and training because that's where, again, where his heart is. He's really a coach's coach and somebody who can really help agents develop this critical skill set. And the other gentleman we have that's partnering up with us on our coaching and training is a fellow by the name of Dan Caramanico. Dan's actually a sales trainer who works with Fortune 500 sales teams. He works with some of the most successful sales organizations in the entire country. He's the author of the book, The Optimal Real Estate Agent, which was chosen by Selling Power magazine as one of the top 10 best books to read this year. Dan is an extraordinary sales trainer, and actually what's even more interesting about Dan is he is actually John's coach and mentor of nearly 20 years. So we have John, the coach, and then we have the coach's coach, Dan Caramanico, helping our agents develop these critical skills for how to take these leads and turn them into closed transactions. And what we've done is we've set up 3 live interactive monthly webinars where 2 of those calls will be specifically devoted to lead conversion, how to take these leads, connect with that prospect, establish a face-to-face appointment with them, and meet with them and create a client relationship that goes down the path to a closed transaction. Again, in 15 years of working with call capture, that has been the single biggest challenge that agents faced with our service, and we've taken care of that by adding in this coaching and training element of these 3 live interactive webinars that we conduct on a monthly basis for being part of this program. With all of those things brought together, it presents a very significant opportunity to generate a significant amount of inbound lead activity and then developing the skills and ability to take those leads and turn them into closed transactions. So with that, this is a new offering. This is not our previous service polished up to make it look better. This is an entirely new system from the ground up. It's taken us over 16 months in development to bring it to where it is. This mobile marketing suite with, again, the most important element of it being the mobile voice routing element that routes these calls through to you for a live conversation, and then the coaching and training element that's behind it. Now, there are also, on the back side of this, in the back office, there are some very powerful features and functionality that have been built into this new system for team leaders and those who are leading a group of agents. If you're interested in that functionality and those tools, how to help hold your team members accountable, call metrics, and how you can use those as a training tool with your team to promote more effective closing ratios, that type of thing. There's some very, very powerful stuff that's been built into the backside of this system. We did some very extensive consulting with Corcoran Coaching and Consulting, and 8 of our teams are in the top 100 in the world according to the Wall Street Journal, and we did some very extensive consulting with them about what would make this system more effective for team leaders. So, okay, at this point, with mobile voice routing being this amazing new technology and tool, there are a couple of critically important things for you to understand here. First off, no one else in your market has this. No one. Sure, some have call capture, texting, Tiger Leads, Boomtown, any one of those old lead capture systems where it's capture the lead, chase the prospect, and get voicemail 90% of the time. Now contrast the two of these paths. With the old lead capture path, you have to make at least 10 outbound calls to get one person on the phone. Now worse yet, when you get that one person on the phone, typically you're interrupting them in the middle of dinner or when they're trying to get out the door to take the kids to the soccer game or any number of things. You're interrupting them in the middle of life. Now with our new mobile voice routing system, you create a conveyor belt that literally delivers you perfectly timed live conversations with buyers and sellers wanting to talk with you. The other path literally grinds you into dust over time. With this path, you answer your phone, talk with people, engage with people who are open and receptive to having a conversation with you. They actually have questions and want to talk. Now, which of those two paths sounds better to you? Which one do you think would close more business? Now, a question agents often ask is, what's the quality of these prospects? How many actually close a transaction? Well, take out a piece of paper and write this down because this is absolutely stunning. We've done some very extensive surveying, and out of over 25,000 conversations surveyed, 21% of these buyers and sellers will close a real estate transaction within 30 to 90 days. Another 48% are ready to do something within 3 to 12 months. And 31% are trash can leads. They simply don't qualify. Now, let me repeat that. 21% are right now, NOW business. 48% are mid to long term, 3 to 12 months, and 31% don't qualify. These are real live conversations where 7 out of 10 times you're talking with a red hot buyer or seller opportunity. You're having an actual conversation, not just talking into their voicemail. Then the key becomes your skills at conversion. To give you an example of the quality of these conversations, I'm going to play a quick video clip from Bill McCormick.
Hey, Gary Elwood, you and ProQuest rock, let me tell you. I just got back off of a listing call from a sign call that I took 2 days ago. And it turns out that it wasn't a buyer call at all. It was a listing call. And I just picked up a $389,900 listing in an area that I've been trying to get in forever. And you know what? I owe it to this system. And what's even better is that my wife now asks me, when am I ever coming home? I've been inundated by business. This system rocks. This system works, and I owe it all to the ProQuest system. I now have a new lease and a new life in real estate. The next 10 years are going to be phenomenal. Thank you. I can't say thank you enough. All right? I'll talk with you soon. Have a great weekend. And as John Gualtieri likes to say, chop wood and carry water. And by the way, I am working Saturday with a brand new buyer because of the system. And I'm having an open house on Sunday. And I expect to get probably 6 or 7 new buyers through there. It's awesome. Talk soon. Bye.
Bill took 57 of these perfectly timed conversations and turned them into 10 closings. 10 closings. After splits, he banked $72,000 in commissions by simply answering his phone a few times a day and answering questions. That's the power of this system. That's how good these conversations are. And again, something that's critically important for you to understand is no one else in your market has this system yet. Again, they have captured leads. They get to make endless amounts of outbound dials. They get to chase after prospects forever and talk into their voicemails and have less and less business happening all the time. Now, yes, it's true. Some of these agents' businesses are actually beginning to pick up, but it's their repeat and referral business that's feeding the machine. Most of their marketing is failing miserably, doing nothing more than draining cash out of their pockets. We've got live conversations that are converting. So with mobile voice routing, our full implementation and training to help you ramp this up quickly and hone your conversion skills to a razor-sharp edge, the question then becomes, how do I get started? Well, here's the other critically important thing you need to understand. I'm going to personally guarantee you that if you give this a good, solid, sincere effort, you're going to close at least 6 additional transactions you would not have done without us over the next 6 months, or you're out of the program and I'm refunding your money. The bottom line is you're going to make a ton of money with this new system, or we're going to ask you to leave. See, this isn't technology you can just buy, sit on, and do nothing. Why? Because our end game for you and us is much, much bigger. Collectively, as a group, we will be able to bring tons of value to you, our exclusive agent member. But the key is you've got to be successful and take massive action. So again, let me ask you, does having 4 to 5 times as many live conversations with prospects who are sitting out in front of your listings, looking at your ads, or visiting your website represent great value to you? Does talking to 4 to 5 times as many people when they're in a far better state of mind represent great value to you? Does having us guiding you, teaching you, and rolling up our sleeves and digging directly into your business and helping you develop the conversion skills to create far more business represent great value to you? If it does, take action now. And until we have that opportunity to talk with you, I wish you the very best of success. Take care.